live in YouTube, and we would like to know your views. So have you attended any of these conferences before? Any such kind of conferences? Any similar events that you would like to share?
Not as nice.
Okay. So when we speak of the student leadership conference, what comes to your mind?
They prepare us to be a leader in the future. You get to know the qualities. They need to build up our personality.
And what do you predict are the concepts going to be?
Right.
And I would like each of you to tell me why your school chose you to come to the conference. Why you specifically? Okay.
We have already participated in many of the competitions. So that's our reason.
To inculcate good qualities of leadership.
Please experience to make us better leaders for us.
Because maybe that our school is so that we have that confidence.
No, we are. Your school is trusting you with our leaders. And what motivated you to be a leader? I mean, everyone has a leadership inside them, but somebody needs a motivation to go ahead and speak something. So what motivated you? Teachers, family, and friends. Have you attended any of these conferences before? Cultivate conferences? Or any similar ones you want to share? Since it's your first one, what do you predict is going to be there in the conference? Or if it's our idea?
Yeah, it's really like that. And just hoping for the best, I guess.
Okay. So, there's one question I would like you to answer. What comes to your mind when you say student leadership conference? Any random idea that comes to you? What might be the main aim of the conference? And when each of you answer, you don't need to raise it. Why do you think your school chose you as a participant to the conference? Why are you the specialty? So, think about that. I guess you could the leadership skills
They might have felt that we, actually kind of have some authority, since the person the head of the school. So they might think, we can do better, we can learn better by attending this.
maybe your school trusts you.
Yeah, that's beauty. Yeah.
And see, we all know that everyone has a leader within them, right? So what motivates you to become a leader and go ahead to express your ideas?
I feel like really is like not just being or telling the people to be being with them and doing it with them what leadership is about. That's what
वेलकम करायचं आहे कारण की हा पहिला इव्हेंट आहे पुण्यामध्ये आणि मला तुम्हाला हे विचारायचं आहे की तुम्ही पहिल्या अशा तुम्ही कॉन्फरन्सेस अटेंड केलं की नाही किंवा याच्यासारखं काही जे तुम्हाला शेअर करायला आवडेल तर जेव्हा आपण स्टुडंट लिडरशिप कॉन्फरन्स करतो तेव्हा तुमच्या डोक्यात पहिला विचार कुठला येतो?
सगळ्यांना कसं गाईड करावं.
ओके आणि हा तुमचा फर्स्ट इव्हेंट आहे कॉन्फरन्सचा बरोबर तर मग तुम्हाला काय वाटतं कॉन्फरन्समध्ये काय काय असू शकते आता आपल्याकडे वेगवेगळे वर्कशॉप्स असतात बरोबर तर या वर्कशॉपमध्ये काय काय असतं तुम्हाला अशी काही कल्पना आहे का कुठे होणार आहे डान्स करणार आहे तुम्ही ड्रामा करणार आहे काय करणार आणि प्रत्येक स्कूलमधून 5 ते 4 लोक सिलेक्ट केले बरोबर तर तुमचं स्कूल
एक्सप्लेन करतो ना आता बोलू ना मला आत्ताच
SRC hosted by KHS is the first of its kind.
Student Leadership Conference 2017 at KHS. The opening ceremony is underway. The delegates have been chosen and the students have started assembling for the grand opening. We have an interesting panel of speakers with inspiring leadership stories. Our chief guest for today is Mr. Mohan.
Of various schools. May they carry this positivity out into the world and become the harbingers of action and purpose. Now may I call upon the stage Mr. Mohan Sathe, our chief guest, and our keynote speakers for today, Mr. Rishikesh Pawar, Mr. Viraj Kalyani, and Ms. Tishla Talera, along with the members of the management and our principal, Mrs. Pallavi Naik, to light the lamp. Thank you, and may I request you to take your seats as the program gets underway. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our chief guest for today, Mr. Mohan Sathe. Mr. Sathe is a first-generation entrepreneur and a co-founder of Global Sourcing Group Inc. USA. After quitting a high-profile job with Reliance in 2003, he started a business with 5 employees in a garage. GSG today has about 300 employees, 5 offices in the United States, Canada, and South America, and a large number of Fortune 500 clients, including but not limited to big names like Coca-Cola, IBM, Apple Computers, Sony, and Johnson & Johnson, among others. GSG is one of the fastest growing software companies in the Forbes list. A serial entrepreneur and an investor, Mr. Sathe firmly believes that dear dreams don't let you sleep. When we read in his profile that he was a college dropout who went on later to qualify as a chartered accountant, we were amazed at the route his success had taken. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is a corporate trainer and a success coach, having conducted over 300 workshops on entrepreneurship, international business, and management skills. His specialty business workshop named Eureka for people who want to start a new business. He is also a visiting faculty with many business schools like Symbiosis Pune and Steinbeis University Germany and ICFAI. Later on in the program, we will be hearing Mr. Sathe speak about his journey, and hopefully we can take the inspiration from the fact that failures are the stepping stones to success, as he has shown us. Thank you for gracing this occasion, Mr. Sathe. May I request Mrs. Malti Kalmadi ma'am, Secretary Kannada Sangha, to please welcome Mr. Sathe to the first Student Leadership Conference. pleasure to welcome all the guests who have spared their valuable time to grace this occasion. I would fail in my duty if I don't extend a warm welcome to the members of our management. I welcome Mr. Kushal Hegde, President Kannada Sangha, Mrs. Indira Salyan, Vice President Kannada Sangha, Mrs. Balti Kalmadi, Secretary Kannada Sangha, Mrs. Radhika Sharma, Honorable Trustee Kannada Sangha. I also extend a warm welcome to the heads of various sections of Kaveri groups of institutes. Dr. Khanosekar. Okay. Mr. Harkude, Principal, Kannada Medium. Mrs. Shilpa Kher, Principal, Pre-Primary Section. We welcome everyone present here. We welcome all the accompanying principals and teachers of various schools. Dr. Sunita Bhagwat, Director, New India School. Mrs. Purna Vidwans, Principal, New India School. Mrs. Urmila Samson. Mr. Aditya Jhunjhunwala, Director, Life School Ignited, LLP. And Mr. Priyadarshan. Mrs. Jayashri Pai, former Principal, Abhinav. Mr. Anvit Phatak, Director, Millennium High School. Mr. Mahesh, Principal, Clover High School, Aurangabad. Thank you for accepting our invitation and registering your students for the conference. We most importantly extend a heartfelt warm welcome to our participants and we hope that you enjoy this conference. My friends Isha and Archit will now take over the next segment of the program. We also extend a heartfelt warm welcome to all the GPA members present here.
Thank you, Shalmali, and good morning, everyone. Isha, what is the difference between an effective leader and an extraordinary one?
I suppose one is good and the other is great.
Exactly. Drawing an analogy with science, it is the difference between 99 degrees and 100 degrees temperature water. At 99 degrees, the water is very hot, but at 100 degrees, it boils.
That's the difference. It all boils down to that one extra degree. That one extra degree of passion, of enthusiasm, of commitment to excellence.
Every day in the classrooms, students of all ages are leading big and small changes. Some are working as buddies to help a friend in math, others leading awareness drives or monitoring new initiatives. Still, others are shouldering student council responsibilities. And how can we forget those who spearhead open discussions in the classrooms to change the mindsets of their schoolmates? And sometimes teachers too.
These opportunities are helping students learn that sharing ideas, convincing adults, and brainstorming solutions is a way of imagining and creating a better world. When we discover our potential to move the waves of change, then we take the first step in understanding the value and power of students' voices.
Simply put, we have the power to be the change makers and drive a positive change. And look at the activities in our school. The Buzz Gauges 26.6 program. Using the public address system as a broadcasting station, the students of Standard 10th entirely script, direct and broadcast the in-house radio program in all the classes based on a theme every month. Like a regular radio channel, Buzz Gauges has its own RJs, music, stand-up comedies, interview and movie reviews and what's hot. I cannot think of a better and more engaging program to change the students for. To create leaders from ordinary shy students to popular and enthralling RJs.
Yes, I agree. The ICAN Design for Change national level program was introduced to the students of our school. Students raised their voices against the problem of bullying. They were also sensitized to the problem of learning disabled and were urged to be empathetic and not sympathetic.
Yes, and the Think program by Professor Mohanan and his wife Professor Tara, developed by the Indian Institute of Science and Education and Research, ISER. This program has been running for the past 2 years in our school and has brought forth creative students who use out-of-the-box thinking and inquiry-based learning. The Atal Tinkering Lab, which has now been set up in our school, will give further impetus to the creativity, curiosity and innovation of our students.
Our first student leadership conference on the theme of means to we. In leadership is a way to celebrate, explore, and nurture the power and potential of a student leader. Whether the student is with or without a badge, it is imperative that students learn what it means to be a leader and take others on this journey too.
The Students' Leadership Conference is a two-day residential program packed with interactive workshops, great speakers, presentations, hands-on activity, and some entertainment in the form of dance and drama too.
Our workshop facilitators were our thought leaders and workshop facilitators were chosen for being noted personalities in their own spheres of work. They have been approached with the sole purpose of passing on their wisdom to the student leaders of tomorrow and developing engaging sessions for the participants.
We have 10 schools that have registered with 59 participants from these schools.
59 participants, Archit, and we're not even one of them. I feel sad we're not one of them.
But Isha, don't you remember the selection process that we went through?
Yes, I remember. Should we even tell the audience about it?
Yes, of course.
The participant selection process was so intense. It was very intense.
Yes, I remember.
I'll take over from here and I'll share the selection of the participation.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, all the guests who are present here to grace our first Student Leadership Conference designed for the students of Standard 9 and 10. A very warm welcome to the 59 participants who have come from 10 different schools, and a special mention to Cloverdale High School. Their students have come all the way from Aurangabad. They started in the morning today, and all of us know how much it was all the night. Our Student Leadership Conference is an attempt to help the notion of leadership. Leadership, I believe, it's a mindset, and one it's very challenge of however small or maybe. After the conference was sent to the schools in Pune, calls from about allowing more than 6 students to participate in the conference. That was the format of the conference, of having 3 students from 9th and 3 from 10th as representatives from the schools. So that kind of gave me an idea that most of the schools were facing problems how to select those 6 students. It was a challenge for most schools to choose the participants from the large numbers that we have in our schools. Our students went through a rigorous selection process, which incidentally, let me inform you, was more their doing than the teachers. So we had designed, the teachers and I, we had designed a very simple paper pencil test. And when the children came to know that it's going to be a paper pencil test, they were all in my office and saying, that's not a very good tool to assess who's a good leader. And they did not agree with it at all. So selecting 6 participants from a whopping 480 students of grade 9, 10, indeed was an uphill task. 2 things to be clear about. Only badge holder. Anyone who showed an ability. Second, they used as a tool for selecting. So what does one do? So now our selection process was divided into 3, which was finalized after an intense brainstorming with students. More than applied for the round, which was a question test. Of 35 were shortlisted to go through the group discussion. 20 students who made it through this, that is the group discussion round, then appeared for a personal interview with a panel of teachers, and a final group of 6 initially was chosen. 1 was added later, and I'm sure he's going to be very angry if I disclose or share his story, but I'm going to keep the story to myself. But at his insistence, we included his name, the name, to the list of the participants. So this was how the selection process was designed, taking into consideration our students, guests, and the present here. I'd like to share that the logo on the backdrop is by our students. Of having a jigsaw puzzle with very clean slates come here and ignite the flame. Theme of the logo. So it has been designed from grade 10. I hope this 2-day experience you to discover your potential, identify your strengths, develop skills, and communication. Finally, this conference of me to we is not a sort because for a and the world have a extremely fun experience over these days. I hope you have plenty of takeaways from this conference, and we look forward to your feedback, which we have planned for you at the end of the second day, that is tomorrow. So have a wonderful time, enjoy, learn, connect, and communicate.
Thank you, ma'am. For the benefit of the participants and their schools, we have planned to stream this 2-day event live on YouTube. My friend Amit Pillai will brief you about the same.
Thank you, Isha. Good morning, dignitaries, teachers, and my dear friends. Today, on behalf of the technical team of SLC, I would like to give you updates of the program. The SLC 2017's opening ceremony, which we are currently a part of, is being live streamed on YouTube. A new feature of our live streaming is that we are using 2 different cameras which are capturing the auditorium at 2 different angles. Another update of the next update for you is our next way to update you about what's going on is through Facebook. We have our Facebook account SLC Pune. Please follow us for timely updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. And how can we forget to thank our sponsors? The participation kit that contains the stationery, the conference brochure, and a momentum with We Thank print impressions, the volunteer t-shirts from Nina Ricci, and the food from Mr. Bhandari.
Isha, I remember when this conference idea was broached upon, the intense discussions that took place within the 9th and 10th standard classes. And finally, what did we all agree on?
A sort of TED Talk.
Yes. So that is how we approached our keynote speakers and asked them to make the introductory student leadership conference keynote session a memorable one. See, these people are young and successful, and if we want to be in their shoes sometime in the near future, it is best to hear from them what their journey to this point has been, whether any memorable incident stood out in their life.
I'm really looking forward to know where and how did their journey begin.
Even I'm looking forward to hearing all of them, and for that, I'm going to start out by introducing our first student leadership conference keynote speaker, Mr. Viraj Kalyani. Achiever and family, Mr. Director of Kalyani Forge Limited, but has also branched out into high-strength engineering and design through his venture, Kalyani Studio. His purpose is to create high-tech jobs in India and catalyze clients to design cutting-edge, high-performance. Background in engineering, design thinking and manufacturing, having studied at the University of Pennsylvania and Wharton Business School, he wants to bring new vigor to the engineering, research and development industry. Mr. Kalyani has a philosophy of creating new opportunities through disruption. While many jobs today are being replaced by automation and AI, he believes in building the human jobs of the future. We welcome you, sir. Now I request Mrs. Radhika ma'am Kalmadi, Mrs. Radhika ma'am to felicitate Mr. Viraj Kalyani.
हा काय काय नाही होत आहे हो प्रॉब्लेम येत नाही आहे ना तुला येते रेंज
Please put your hands together for
त्याच्या आधीच घे अमित प्रिन्सनी सुमोगची फाडली का बोलली किती तोंडावर बोलली काय अरे हा
So a TED Talk is a lot of pressure. That's what I was telling my colleagues here. All right, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
And first of all, I'd like to thank Mrs. Kalmadi and the organizers of the event for inviting me here. It's a big honor and privilege to be talking about leadership to a lot of young, enthusiastic, upcoming leaders. And I just came to know the rigorous selection process through which you guys have got selected into this program. And I wish you all the best and over the next 2 days for an exciting course. So as I've had a pretty good introduction so far, so I won't get into too much about what I'm doing, but talk a little more about some stories from my childhood and when I was your age in school, which have actually had a very big impact on my leadership principles and ideals today. So just to give a quick introduction about what I do, I recently started a new company called Kalyani Studio, which is a high-strength engineering and design studio. So we do a lot of innovation and help R&D teams of car companies, railway companies, aerospace companies, and many other industrial organizations around the world to come up with new designs, new inventions, particularly around high strength or mechanical engineering. So first of all, I'd just like to get a feel of how many of you in the audience want to be an entrepreneur. Could you just raise your hands? Or you want to start your own business or your own company? I know it's very early for you to decide these things, but some of you may have an idea. Okay, so there's almost half of the audience feels this way, which is really good. So I'd like to talk about 3 main leadership principles that I learned when I was in school at your age, and which helped me today, even to this day, and will continue to. So the first one is systems thinking. The second one is having a philosophy of selflessness. And the third is about love for your country or your motherland. So I have a short anecdote about each of them. So first one is about systems thinking. And some of these stories might be a bit risky, and maybe the teachers here in the audience may not really like me saying this, so I'm taking great risk and giving this disclaimer right now. So I was in class 9, in 9th standard, about 14 years old, and we were a class of 50 students in a boys' school in St. Mary's here in Pune. And at that time, for some reason, of course, there's a lot of academic pressure, and we have to do well in our grades and exams. So for some reason or the other, too many games periods, and that was really not enough. In the morning till got over. So the first few classes went on, there was that took place. The teachers started discussing what's going on. This is weird, you know. They did not know how to react. Some of the teachers did not care. They just went about their own classes they were teaching. They said, okay, you do what you want. I'm going to teach. And but they were very like adults, which is what I really appreciated. Advise us, you know, don't rock the boat too much. Happening. I mean, would one such an incident happen? Noon. Just walked up to the desk. Anyone stand will be not allowed to, and all of us sat down immediately. So, but it was a great experience. I mean, I feel foolish today about the whole thing, but we got a lot of appreciation even from the teachers and the principal. The next year we had a lot more games classes. But what we learned in that whole incident was, firstly, you're part of a big system, and in fact, one of our standard, she was you try to spit back on you. So, and then she said, you try to change a system. You cannot try to beat a system. The word system really stuck in me, and at that time I didn't in my is anybody. So when you look at the perspective, even in the story, the best thing you can do is see everyone's. One of the students mentioned empathy. That's a really skill to learn, how to be in somebody else's shoes. Today I can my principal, our own perspective, you know, the whole school administration's perspective. I can understand what was going on, solving the problem. Get the whole picture in one view, then you can solve your much better way without conflict. The second important, if not more. So one came to our class and she just finished the syllabus plan for that day, and she said, okay, everyone close your books, just bring out a blank piece of paper and answer this question. Who am I? And she asked us that question, and all of us were scratching our heads. We were thinking all this while we were thinking, we know everything, we have all. But then such a simple question, who am I? and we were to answer it. Our attempts and listen to our. Some people gave very answers like, I'm doing studying so and so, or I am a, or I am a, whatever, many different ideas. And then she gave some perspective. What she was basically trying to do was build some philosophical thinking in us at that very young age about who am I, why am I here, what am I doing? And these sort of questions will be something you will grapple with throughout your life. And it's good to start thinking about it. And she gave a perspective on who am I, and she said that I'm a very small part of a very large universe. And the entire universe is connected. So that's when I realized it's so important to see the whole world. The world does not revolve around you. And all the while we are brought up to be looking at ourselves first. But then at some point you got to make that switch. You got to start looking at what is the world outside and what is my role in that world. What can I do to change things? How can I lead? And you can only lead if you understand that there's a much bigger world outside of yourself. And that's where selflessness comes in. If you lead with a sense of selflessness, meaning you work in other people's interests, you work in the interest of those who you are leading, then you will be a leader. But if you lead expecting to be followed and expecting everybody to just look at you for answers and attention, then your leadership will start crumbling. So that's something I learned, and it still rings loudly to this day every time I face a sort of leadership crisis or typical problem. And the third story, also from my school, was about the country. It was Independence Day celebrations that we were having in school, and I was in 4th standard that time, so it was the year 2000. I think you guys were not even born then, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel really old, but it was around, I think, 15th August. We had our a show like this, everybody had prepared different kinds of patriotic songs and all that. And so the rest of the day, typically, there's not much of study, right? The rest of the day was a little free. Because were different classes to just sort of monitor and keep a watch on the students. So one of our senior teachers came into our class. I was in 4th standard. She was a 10th standard history teacher, and she had not interacted with us before. So she came in, and she took the opportunity to give us a history lesson and put it in our own perspective. So what she did that day, told us the story. She drew a map of India on the chalkboard. She was really good at it. And then she started visually telling us how India was the richest country in the world about 500 or 600 years ago. A little more than that. It was civilized, and the whole world went to India for learning, for minerals or materials, and lots of exotic things which were not for us. So, up until that point, I did not know anything about the greatness of my country. I always felt, and this was a time when India was just beginning to grow in terms of new industries and economic power. And this story changed my perspective for life, because I realized that day that if we were on top, then why can't we be on top again as a country and as a civilization? And that's what our teacher told us that day as well. And Similarly, another teacher came in and she taught me this Sanskrit phrase. I don't know if any of you know it. Janani Janma Bhumi Swargadapi Garyasi. Right? So, how many of you know what that means? Okay, a few. Alright. So, it means mother and motherland is superior to the heavens. So, these are the kind of value systems that I took from my school days. And today, the company that I've set up, Kalmadi Studio, the purpose we have here is to create new high technology jobs in India and to create high fidelity technology right here, homegrown. And all this while, for so many decades, our country has been used to taking technology from outside. Get some technology from Germany, do a tie-up with a company in Japan, get something from Italy. But that's what we want to change, and I truly believe that that can change. And the reason, the seed that was planted in me was in my school days, at the same age as you, from the teachers that imparted all this thinking to me. Incidentally, it was Teachers' Day on 5th September, right? So I think this kind of is a good timing in terms of telling you these things. So these are the three things that I learned from my school days in terms of leadership: systems thinking, selflessness, and the love for your country, or feeling rooted to some strong purpose. So I hope that that's something you can take from what I've said and apply it in your own special situations, in your own dreams, and it makes sense to you. So I'd love to hear some questions, maybe in the Q&A session, and know more about what you guys are doing. So thank you so much and have a great celebration.
Thank you, sir. We welcome Mrs. Kamini Saxena, Management Facilitator, Mr. Prasad Akolkar, Admin Manager, Mrs. Sumiti Srinivasan, Principal Junior College, and Mrs. Devsena Desai of the Gifted Center, who have joined us right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmili, and good morning, everyone. Your ideas on innovation, systems thinking, especially with the multiple perspectives and love for your motherland, are indeed thought-provoking and aspirational. Our next keynote speaker of the day is Ms. Trishla Talera, Creative Director of Talera Institute of Fine Arts, a platform dedicated to exploring alternate avenues of art education in India. A fiber artist from the Savannah College of Art and Design, she has also studied organic agroecology at Biza University, Navdanya. Her passionate love for contemporary art and the process of art education led her on a path to create her own brand of art education, and hence the birth of Tifa Working Studios. Ms. Talera may be just in her 20s, but she has achieved so much in such a short time. Chair of Education at Young India's Pune and a fellow of Art Think South Asia, she dons many hats and all equally impressively. Ms. Talera is keen on introducing mentorship programs of young artists and designers. She has worked with sustainable textiles and processes and interacted extensively with weavers' communities. She is a part of ongoing dialogues and new educational formats and experiments. Passionate not only about the contemporary art, but also the time-intensive and laborious back-end process of making art. Ms. Talera is working on creating a globalized curriculum for Tifa. We welcome you and we are keen to hear your wonderful story. Participants and audience, Ms. Trishla Talera. I invite Ms. Malti Kalmadi Ma'am, Secretary Kannada Sangha, on the stage to felicitate Ms. Trishla Talera.
लाइट नहीं है हाँ आया है बस बस perfect. perfect, correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Ms. Talera to come on the stage. Please put your hands together for Ms. Talera.
कोण कलेरा सोड अरे तुला बघून डासली
Hi, good morning everyone. So how many people in this room are leaders? Come on, this is a student youth leadership conference. All the hands should be going up. Come on, everyone. Hands up, both your hands up. Okay, fantastic. We were told to do TED Talks. Now that's really daunting. So I've been seeing all these TED Talks. I was like, okay, this is a good system. I'm going to use this. So I'm going to start off with saying I'm really glad to be here, and I'm also really glad to be with Viraj and Rishikesh. They both have been a very important part of my leadership journey personally. So it's great to be sandwiched between them during this session. I was not the typical cookie cutter student. I was an absolute brat in school. I the system my crazy energy to provide in the traditional school system. So I think leadership started very early on, but in a very skewed way. As I said, very known class-wide lizards and get everyone all like, let's try and get free people out here. Let's try and physics teacher with some Odomos. Very naughty. People to believe and to do one thing together, not just for me, but everyone together. Those are small things. So I really want to talk about two phases of leadership. Come and go at different parts, and that's all everyday leadership. Things you can apply from a day basis in context, and the form of leadership called leadership. Raj also spoke about it's not that we do in silos. Leadership is not me and oh my god, I am a leader, but it's about how we can be leaders together and how we can create community to be able to do that. So I'm just gonna run through a little trajectory of what happened, how I'm here, and how I started doing what I was doing. If someone called me a leader back in school, I would be like, because I always thought leaders know the answers and leaders have to know what they want to do. And throughout, even now, sometimes I don't know what to do. There are times where I act upon that, and then I move. Like, okay, I'm lost again. How do I situation? I wanted to go. Like, okay, I don't know what I want to study on technology, and I want to do fine art. Some of the schools in there, we don't know. I don't think we can accommodate you. I had the privilege of going abroad to study, so I went and I applied to school, and I was like, okay, this is do a foundation. Like, this is not what I want to do. I want to switch my passion. I started studying fashion and pattern making, and I was like, okay, I did this. I'm going to switch to something else. I started studying textiles, and I started dyeing natural fabrics and all stuff, and I was like, this is great. Product, it doesn't like it can do only so much. And I found myself in fine art. As I'm studying fine arts and all of this time in my dorm room watching documentaries. And being out of the USA is not a value. I almost sacked myself, and then I graduated in fine art and I came back to India. And I was like, I'm going to be a farmer. I can do this. So there's a lady who came up in all of the documentaries I was watching, Vandana Shiva, and she's a very prominent food activist in our country. And she has a school in Dehradun called Bija University that runs the agroecology program. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make my way there. So I find myself for a month, living in a small clothes for a month. We were literally farming, taking food out of the ground, cooking it with 50 people from all over the world for the same purpose. And the core value there was sustainability. And not just sustainability of ecosystem, but sustainability within our lives. And that was a very core learning that I had of how to live within a community and how to live within our ecological meaning. I came back to Pune
And I was like, okay, if I have to do farming, I should probably move to a rural setting. It's a lot of hard work, physically hard. I'm not a very big person, like, oh, हल चलाना थोड़ी ना आएगा. So I was like, okay, urban farming, how do we start? And in the process, I started to think about education and my education personally, and how the learnings that I had were based on all the different verticals that I traveled between. And also looking for avenues to experience things that I can do. So besides Phoenix, eating or drinking, I was like, oh, who do I interact with? How do I meet people, right? These are all questions, issues that I had to deal with. So I think through the questions of the larger as online learning is becoming dominant, but the systems are not changing. There is a huge gap within the negotiation. Play a role in bridging that. So we started TIFA, TIFA Working Studio, alternative art platform and art center, and a format of mentorship. Actually, no classrooms. It's an online model along with teachers. Well, you don't call them teachers, we call them mentors, and they essentially. So you're essentially. I want to become an art technology, and I want to use resistance of inspiration. And you, along with your a new program, design your own program and creative learning. I think a lot of leadership does not come from me or Raj or Rishikesh or any of us here telling you what to do. It's about what you want to do and how you are going to self-initiate or excite yourself to get there. So I think very early on in my TIFA journey, I was very, very fortunate to meet a lot of very, very interesting artists and people who resonated with the vision for what TIFA stands for and spoke about a collaborative, creative community in the city and how artists play a key role in doing that. Now, what is art? Can someone in the audience tell me what art is? Anyone? Yeah? Same things in a different way. Okay. Changing mentality to our drawings. Anyone else? So those are both good answers, and that's why we essentially, yeah, expressing yourself. Yes, fantastic. So that's where we started off, and we said we're talking about a new culture, like everyone's new India. How do we start envisioning a new Indian culture? Is it about the future, and what are the traditions that we want to leave behind? And trust me, there are a few. So we started experimenting, talking about a larger system change. So for me, it was two parts that we could take. It was art, in a way for us, ask the questions that are not just about the medium, but ask the larger questions as to where is our culture headed? What is the capacity of what art can do? What happens when art goes into a public space? And design is the one that essentially more practical answer. Can we help design systems and public transportation problems that we're asking through art? So I think we try to create people can come together and get exposed not just to art and design, but we invite a lot of international. In our 3 years, I think it's been very challenging from the start. When I started, everyone was like, art education, nobody. If you're not doing drawing, if you're not doing painting, art in the city does not exist. People have tried, people have failed. Now it's like, if they fail, they probably, because then I don't have to start from point A. Failures. But it's something that and I think with Rishikesh, we have managed to create a dance, drama, a performance to come together to talk about what create. Two key things that leadership and making note little steps that I took at every and collaboration. I don't think anyone can do things alone. So it's very important to create a team around you. They say proximity is power. The 5 people that you spend the most of your time with, you are a product of. So I really encourage you to find motivated people and friends and peers and really learn from them and really push each other to create leadership within yourselves. Thank you.
Mr. Lira, the fact that your story are trying so many things is inspirational and worth emulating in our lives. All are looking for answers. It is my privilege to introduce as our next keynote speaker for today. Mr. Pawar is to Dr. Kalmadi Shamarao. This last year, he was on a panel for the students of Standard 10. Students of Standard 10 talking about career options. Immensely popular choice of speaker. Mr. Rishikesh Pawar must be called a dancer. Purposed him as a child. Self-expression. The guidance of Mrs. Mani Bhatti and Guru Srimati, he made the transition dance and later taught contemporary dance in India. Really passionate about using dance as Parkinson's disease and especially in isolation and depression. Before on, it is best to hear his story and Mrs. Radhika Sharma to felicitate Mr. Rishikesh.
नको रे
Please put your hands in the King's makeup eye.
Namaskar. I have a small request. These places, students at the back to come in front.
Last 5 rows.
Front.
बोल बोल जा एवढ्या पुढे येऊ दे
Sessions, no? You tend to comfortable. That's the thing to be. So let's do something with your right hand, and I'd like everybody to participate, even people over here. That'd be wonderful. Can you all see me? Yes. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 2, 5. Let's go both. 2. 6. 5. Getting away with those dancing. And I find grew up or brought up in party, wanted their son everything. Yeah. So they said, oh, what's the best in the 80s and the so they will go to Dastur. It's an school. Not realize that the English is very, very different than what you have at home, right? Sitting over here and listening to all these talks is wonderful. You go and tell your parents what you've heard, or you go and tell your friends, "Kai, Garzam." You know, that's exactly what happened to me when I was growing up. And I also went through that phase where I thought, oh, probably my parents don't love me enough because they are not coming and asking my teachers, why is your son, where are the marks gone? Because as a visual, I was seeing my friends and their parents coming and asking the teachers, कि भैया कौन सा teacher, कहाँ tuition लगा है, what is happening? All of that. So I grew up in that whole dilemma. I also culturally come from a place where, you know, poha, pohe, they kande banache. Ravivar was a feast. Marathi family, the generation, today they'd have a breakfast. That spoon. The reason I'm sharing is because culturally I just diverse background. Very young age, I have to pull up my socks. I need language. For language, to understand how language is, what is the rule of it. And I started reading. That's when reading started, and it's very, very clear. I was in my second standard. I said, शहाणपणा तर मी शहाणपणा दाखवायचा आहे ना लोकांना. In what you talk. Reading happened and many doors for me, and that was the same time I was also getting trained as a Kathak dancer with the very esteemed Guru Rohini Bhate. She's an academician par excellent, and I thought, wow, you know, you look at a Hrithik Roshan, no, and you say, yaar, wish I had the money and the guts and the looks like that. So Rohini Bhate was more than that to all of us. She's a par excellent woman who had a disciplined life and a life that we wanted, you know, and that's how dance happened to me at that time. And it sort of engaged me into a conversation, but I was in an all-boys school. And in the 5th standard, you know, mulga kathak nachtoy, amuk tamuk, he, te, whatever. And that whole thing happened. I left it for a while. And I realized I got into theatre. Anything that connected me to this very sacred place, I engaged in that. Because it made me a part of it. It made me feel that I belonged. You know, doing a physics experiment in a hall did not give me that satisfaction. I did not belong there. I was not important. But when you create something, you know, even when you're getting a chair, you become important. There's a duty given to you. Responsible for it. And I enjoyed it so much. So I started back again 8th, 9th and 10th. That's when so I was a distinction student. But I didn't leave. So this rubber and 10th needs काही मुलं अभ्यास do whatever they want to do for that 1 hour, you know. And after a certain, I fought with all this, and it was interesting because I stayed there. After a certain while, how much can you become the Ravan and the Krishna and that, no? The face, of course, you get all the attention and so forth, but it fizzled off. The country, which is about 6 years. I got through my scholarship at that time. Channelize all into my medium, come whatever, however, choose it. And what actually said that there has to be a purpose to it, because purpose gives you questions. What are you contributing? What are you contributing to the other? from this idea of rich, did not know what to do, and whatever they were doing, I couldn't do it. Back and open a dance. Work was also dance has changed over. Anybody who doesn't pick up, I can't sit there and Sundar Nazam. Our aesthetic style, it's unimaginable. It's gorgeous. Have you all look at what we are? High standard country. So I said, I can't create a pond, bring together, I either work alone. Yes.
No.
I always keep telling my students that I am in Ahmedabad where and I keep telling them even Dhirubhai and does 25 pairs. You have to know the world around you. How do you create a system? Because I can teach you all of that. How do you teach them what is started questioning the ideas of creating and earning out of it? Out of imagine doing theater or dance, making it. So one of Trishla's studio, collaborating because they're saying something. They're in. So the first work is called Daughter's Walk. Representation because it's. So that's the first. Engineers.
I want to become a doctor like my mother and father.
Hi there, I'm Sania. I'm a passionate learner, player, and a dancer.
But at that point of time, solve and let's see what we can dish. Something like how do you handle? So short fuse. Right. That's the best way. Just touched upon. Thing makes a person. Just touched upon. Thing makes a person. Raise a hand. The problem is they are not.